Yeah, all right. Thank you, Star Trek guys. And let's do a little something else. By the way, just to reiterate, if you didn't get to see this, let me show you. We'll bring, thank you, Russians. We're going to bring Spock and McCoy off of the screen and give you this right here. As I mentioned, U.S. imports of Saudi crude oil fall to zero for the first time since 1985. Have fun at the gas pumps. It's going to be great. But that's okay, because if you can get hooked in some sort of fascist way, if you can become part of the defense contracting groups, maybe even Bernie Sanders will get you a job at Lockheed Martin because he's so pro-peace. Yeah. Or maybe you can work for BAE Systems and then become governor in the state of New Hampshire. And then if you got a friend who owns a warehouse in Merrimack, New Hampshire, you can get ICE to buy his warehouse for him because he can't get any businesses to go in because the economy is in the crapper. All right. That's cool, huh? Who needs power for the inside of that? They're just foreigners. They don't need air conditioning in the summer or heat in the winter. It's fine. It's fine. In a rough economy, it's always good to be a fascist. And in Utah, they're getting to enjoy exactly that. So keep that chart in mind, everybody. Zero, like the fix, not saved by zero either. Maybe someday. Let's hear from Furb and find out what's going on. The latest on the Utah situation is in the news notes, and I'll show you inside Kevin O'Leary's massive Utah data center standoff. It is a major, major story. Morning Joe covered it. We're going to go into some of that in a little bit. But first, I want to hear from our guest. Furb is with us. Furb, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you, buddy? What's happening?
Everything's going pretty good here. I moved into the new world headquarters for Smooth Foods. Here I am in the office.
I like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Smooth Foods, man. There's going to be a lot going on. I know you've been really busy. You've been moving, and and people ask me about Smooth Foods. First, they say, "How do you spell it?" And I tell them it's SMOOVE Foods. And then they ask me why is it called that? And I was like, well, I think it's like smooth, but I don't know. And then they say, how's the barbecue sauce? And I was like, it's awesome. So you got some plans coming up on that. I know you've been really busy moving and stuff like that. And at the same time, you're right in your ground zero, the AI stuff. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with Smooth Foods and your plans.
Well, right now I'm just like planning on. I'm kind of done with barbecue sauce for the moment, and then I'm going to transition into like fresh pasta for the winter season. So I'm going to take a trip up to the Tetons and get some glyphosate GMO-free durum wheat and grind it.
I thought you were going to get some glyphosate and GMO and just pour it in a big bag and good.
Yeah.
Hey, excuse me, waiter. Can I get some more glyphosate here? Can I get some more GMOs? Come on. What kind of a place is this?
Yeah, so I'm going to be going up to take a little trip up to the Tetons and fill up my car with bags of wheat berries and bring them back here and grind them up, making some raviolis with some goat cheese regatta, and we're going to do it up.
Oh man, that's great. Is it really expensive to do that yourself, or how does that work out? How do you calculate?
It's not a cost thing. It's a passion project, but I'll figure out the cost and charge an appropriate amount.
There you go. Well, I'm looking forward to this, dude. And if I could have dinner with you right now, I'd be buying you the dinner. We go out for ice cream afterwards. Maybe go do some bowling. We'll take the skinheads bowling afterwards, right, man? Hey, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on the ground there in Utah. You're not too far from Salt Lake City proper, with all the mountains all around it and the desert and everything. And as we know, people, last time we spoke to you, we showed some clips from some of the town meetings or the regional meetings where, of course, they just go through the motions. It's all, we're going to listen to what you have to say. In the meantime, everything's all planned. But
it's already happened.
Yeah.
It's totally performative. There's no deliberation during those meetings.
Yeah, I thought so. And let's spell this out, because again, for people who are interested in property rights and freedom, the key insertions here, the spike protein insertions here, what is it? The cleavage site insertions are the government connections to this in a number of ways. You get the federal government and the state or region working with Kevin O'Leary's corporation to basically become partners in this, right?
Right. A public-private partnership.
Right. And so that has eased a lot of things regarding property rights problems, land claims, eminent domain, and things like that. And a lot of people are extremely worried over what's going to happen to their water, especially people who have ranches in there. Tell me a little bit about that, Furb.
Well, there's really there's no water out there except salt water, because the Great Salt Lake is the data center site is basically on the lake bed, you know, on the Great Salt Lake. And the Great Salt Lake is massive, and they're going to be pumping groundwater in there to fill up the coolers, like to chill out the computer chips and stuff. They're using groundwater to fill it up. They say it's like a lossless system, but you still have that initial draw. It's going to be millions of gallons.
Right. And I remember you mentioned last time there was an error in one area where they mistakenly, a different AI center mistakenly released tons and tons of water. And
in Cheyenne.
Yeah, Cheyenne. That's right. That's right. And it was highly destructive. And of course, anybody in this area, whatever the business is, obviously, one of the key points about private property is I don't have a right to tell my neighbor, hey, you're buying that land, but you can't do X, Y, or Z until I've been hurt by it, right? That's in a government-run system. If a region is private, then entrance would already have certain arrangements, like you would have to indemnify yourself, you'd have to pay before you could come in and try a certain project, you'd sign an agreement to, let's say we have a 1,000-acre area and you wanted to plant a little log cabin down there, but you wanted to do something special like a small AI thing. Well, okay, here's our stipulation. You can buy this land, but this is all part of this group. The government-run system, they're investing in this, and we showed some of those segments of people in the town meetings, and sure, they can go speak, but it might as well have been the monkeys from Planet of the Apes. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. They didn't want to listen at all. They don't want to hear anything about this. And the problem is that Kevin O'Leary, as a corporation, his assets aren't at risk personally if his company does something wrong. And if there is a screw up, only the corporation will be liable, and it's going to be very difficult for individuals to fight a giant corporation legally because they'll have millions of dollars to spend on lawyers.
Yeah, and they'll bankrupt the whole county probably if they back out of the deal and the county fights it in court. They'll bankrupt the county. They've got more money than the county does.
Now, I think that obviously politicians think that this is going to be incredibly important for the so-called tax base, right? Is that part of the argument that they say, well, it'll provide X jobs?
But they're giving them tax incentives to build this thing. If it was going to be that profitable, they should be doing it without subsidies.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And when we say tax breaks as subsidies, they're not subsidies per se, but relatively speaking, if they're not giving the tax breaks to everybody else, then you're giving an artificial advantage to Kevin O'Leary.
Yes, and taxes have gone up here year over year since I've lived here. I moved up here in 2023. Taxes have gone up every single year on that property that I just moved away from.
Let me do this, Furb. I want to bring in this Morning Joe segment that I've got prepared, and I'm going to bring your volume down. Just going to show a little bit of this from Morning Joe about this big controversy about Kevin O'Leary's center.
Public opposition to data centers is rising fast across the country. A recent Politico poll finds 41% of Americans are against data centers being built near their homes. That's up from 28% in January. Let's bring in MS Now's senior reporter Josh Einiger. He's got a look at how this debate is playing out in Utah, where a proposal for a massive data center with a famous face behind it has ignited a fierce fight over water, power, and government transparency. Josh, good morning. What'd you find in Utah?
It's quite a fight. So we just got back from the northern tip of Utah near the Idaho border, which is sort of ground zero now in this national debate. And it's all because of this audacious proposal from a celebrity investor. Originally, he wanted to develop a piece of land twice the size of Manhattan. It's now been scaled back to only the size of Manhattan into what would be basically one of the world's biggest data centers. But he never quite predicted the backlash he'd see.
At the northernmost edge of Utah, miles from anywhere, sits a vast no man's land. An unspoiled expanse in Box Elder County, which could soon be the site of one of the biggest data centers on the planet. It's ignited outrage across Utah, the community concerned about their already scarce resources and furious about a lack of transparency in government.
That's not real information, and we sit here like it's okay.
Some career politicians have already been toppled, and all before a single piece of dirt has been moved.
So we're going to go straight to last.
Okay, now I'm going to pause it there for a bring you back because as you say, this is not going to be stopped. Let me ask you, why do you think that there is such a push for such a massive number of data centers? Do you think that there really is sufficient consumer-based demand for going to an AI to get a picture drawn or to get some information that's more detailed than a Google search? Or do you think there's something else going on, like monitoring and data collection of our communications and movements and things like that? To be prejudicial, I'm sorry I brought that up, but what do you think?
No, it's totally fine to ask that. I think that's my thinking is they have a demand in mind before they built this. They want to use that technology and that facility to do something that has military implications. Otherwise, the military board called MIDA, I'm not sure exactly what the acronym stands for, but it's a military project. So what are the military implications? There's like targeting of foreign entities, like what's happening in Iran when they, accidentally dropped cluster bombs on a freaking girls' school. Like
Right.
That's the kind of thing that I think they're going to be doing is like analysis, target analysis, picking out the targets, and also like scraping data, looking for I can't think of the word, but they're looking for pattern recognition.
Yes.
Things like that.
In order to predict in a sort of Philip K. Dick sort of way to predict the possible threats. And of course, as we know, with the Lavender from Palantir, the Lavender AI, first of all, targeting anybody, the Israeli government has no right to target anybody. They have only the right to get out of there. But second of all, they're killing kids, they're killing family members and all sorts of things. And we're seeing a similar sort of thing down in Honduras with the Prospero and the Zetes and things like that. And a lot of these people are really closely tied to J.D. Vance, as people like Whitney Webb and others had been warning years ago. So it seems pretty clear to me that they've got some sort of really intense both promotional push to say that America has got to lead the Chinese in AI and all these things. Well, why? For what? What does it do? I don't understand. And then you've got the people who are afraid of AI stealing people's jobs because AI might be able to write a computer program or, edit an article or something for people. And that might, make it easier for someone to get some work done or something like that. It's like, well, in that case, AI is just a tool. So if you're going to be accusing AI of stealing people's jobs because it makes something that you would normally have to do yourself and allows you to technologically do it, well, then get rid of the lever and the inclined plane and work harder, all those types of tools. But this is different. This, to me, is the Stratos project. The Stratos project is part of, I think, a very clear attempt to gather data on all of us, going all the way back to when we first heard about the phone monitoring that Ed Snowden revealed.
Yeah. And a lot of that is like, I think what they're doing. I'm like, with the rise of the flock cameras, those flock cameras are using AI to collect the data, analyze the data, establish patterns, pattern recognition. When somebody goes off script, they're going to get flagged. Probably. That's what I'm thinking. You know,
Now
I don't know why.
I know that. What's that?
I don't know why that would be a military concern if somebody's, you know, oh, I'm going to go buy my milk at a different grocery store than I normally do. You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And now I know you said, and it was in June, that O'Leary agreed to pare this down, and they said it in the Morning Joe piece, from twice the size of Manhattan to just the size of Manhattan. And they're still out there saying, "Oh, it's going to be wonderful." It's going to be bringing thousands of construction jobs, up to 2,500 construction jobs, and even though they have to get the water permit, the water will be protected, and so on. What do you think is going to happen to people's property values around this area, despite all this wonderful nonsense about, oh, it's going to provide jobs? Once those construction jobs are done and some people are working in the AI centers and that's it, what do you think is going to happen to the value of the homes around the area for?
Well, there's not a lot of homes near the data center proper, but it's going to create a heat island. You know, because it's putting out 23. If it's at full capacity, it's supposedly going to be putting out the thermal energy of 23 Hiroshima-sized atomic bombs every single day, and that's pretty hot. You know, and the local, there's a guy at the university, the Utah State University, who's a climate scientist, says that it could raise temperatures in this downwind by up to 15 degrees. All year round. So instead of getting down to like 10 degrees, it'll be 25.
Interesting. Now, I read that there was a defamation lawsuit that was filed in July by opponents. There's a woman named Finlayson or something, and
there's a couple of people I think that are party to that lawsuit, and the one that I'm most familiar with, her name is escaping me, but she's a world-class skier and mountaineer. So I have a lot of respect for her as a skier. But yeah, her name, it just came to me, is Caroline Gleich. Right. She ran for some sort of political office as a Democrat here, which didn't go anywhere. But
so it looks like these people will. It looks like the legal process is just going to be slowed down, that this is not going to be stopped, despite these lawsuits and things like that. Is that the feeling you get? And do you know anybody who's getting ready?
That's my general feeling on the matter, yes. But I hope for the best, but I plan for the worst. So,
do you know of anybody who, have you been speaking with people who are saying, this has decided it for me, I'm not going to stay around here?
Not so much. I mean, I kind of decided that if the opportunity arises that I can get out of here, I'm going to do it. But I don't know where I will go.
Well, it's fascinating because I've run into people, and you might know people who, sort of say, well, go along to get along, whether it's the sentiment that I mentioned the other day of some people at this radio station in Concord who said, oh, don't criticize the governor, Gardner. We want to be able to work with him so that he'll advertise on our radio station. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm doing a political talk show and the governor is not being straight up with people. What do you want me to allow that to get out there and not criticize him for it? And I think a lot of people do this go along to get along thing, especially if they think that there'll be a payoff for them. Maybe they can work with O'Leary, they're a construction company and things like that. And it's rather frustrating, I'm afraid to see, because when you get the fascist mentality in there, it's much similar to what we saw with the Russian, the Soviet Politburo. If you can get close to the political system, then you're in. And, damnation for the rest of the people. They will be lost in history. And I get a really sinking feeling that that's what's going to happen, not only in Utah, but in all these other places where this battle
people are getting crushed economically. They're looking for jobs. In fact, I saw a posting for apprentices for the sheet metal union, a trade union. And I used to live right around the corner from the union hall, And I was like, you guys don't take data center jobs. Do not go build those data centers. And the recruiter for the union, he lost his mind, dude. He was so
Really?
mad.
Really?
He's like,
Well,
I'm
I
just
know
trying to
that.
get people jobs. I'm like, you're going to enslave our entire populace by
Yeah,
building a
yeah.
data center. So I think
Unbelievable.
boycotting the services as much as possible, not providing the service to people that are building these things, is a valid tactic.
Now, Furb, just to close this off, again, I want to make sure that I mention if Kevin O'Leary had wanted, he could have just taken his money and tried to buy some land and not worked with that. What was the group? I wrote it down somewhere on my sheet.
It's called MIDA.
MIDA. Yeah. He didn't
Yeah,
have to do
it's
that.
a Military Industrial Data Association or something stupid like that.
Okay. Right. Right. He wouldn't have had to do that. So clearly, if there was a market for it, he wouldn't have had to have padded himself by getting the government assistance. If it's a good idea, then you don't need to subsidize it. Clearly.
Yeah. I don't have specific data, but I heard he tried something like this in Alberta, Canada, and it did not go well.
Interesting. Well, he says that I think the term was he doesn't tap out. So he's not giving up. And although he's agreed to cut it in half, some people want him to cut it even further.
Yeah, they'll cut it in half, and then they'll seek to expand it later. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
That's
Exactly.
happened multiple times with multiple data centers in multiple locations. This is a playbook that they've been running for a while now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not to collectivize them, but I don't know about this. There's a playbook. The people that are building the data centers they get pushback. They're like, well, we'll cut it in half, and then they do that. And then they expand it, and they expand their water draws, and people aren't paying attention after it's built.
I used to see the same pattern, and maybe you saw it too when you were in New Hampshire for in my town of Amherst, where there were always people who wanted to expand the schools or build a new school or a new branch of a school or whatever. And it was always part of this new school mentality. The schools, how can you oppose the school? It's for the children and all these things. And if they weren't successful in passing a proposal to build the school, then what they would do is they would pass a proposal the next year to buy land, and they wouldn't say what for. Maybe for conservation, maybe for something else, who knows? And then once the land was purchased, then they'd come through with the easy argument of, well, we've already got the land, so it's not doing anything. So why not put a school there? And that they did it over and over and over again. Now, sometimes they weren't successful. Like my mom fought that all the time. She's like, you can't do that. This is just ridiculous. But it's the same sort of thing with the AI data centers. It's exactly the same mindset as
it's a lot of that's the same playbook.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And now, like, what are you going to do with all these schools? The birth rate is cratering.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And just like in Germany, and it is a strange thing to be talking about how that mentality is manifesting itself inside that giant international group of the EU and NATO. And you can see the avaricious human qualities of these people trying to hang on to their political power in their various nations, knowing that their economies in a free market way are utterly destroyed by their own malfeasance and central planning. And then saying, well, we'll further central plan and we'll shoot for this technology or this technology, which is exactly what they're trying to do with the AI data centers. And it's astounding to me to see that. And by the way, Donald Trump is also starting to push for a special chip building, what would you call that? A chip building plan that, as you know, and I know, they already tried in Japan for central planning. They want to develop chips in the United States, just like alongside AI. So they've got a lot of central plans. And I thought the Soviet Union showed people that doesn't work. I thought the Japanese 1980s showed people that central planning doesn't work, but they're still doing it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
look,
amazing.
Man, thanks.
They don't want to learn.
Oh, no. It is interesting too, because it's not like the lessons aren't there, right? But I think a lot of people either know that the lessons are there and know they're in for the quick grab, or they know the lessons are there and they think that somehow they can do it differently. You know?
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's ways there's ways to counter this. It's called counter economics. Build yourself a network. You have to be a builder, and then other people will join you. Somebody's got to be the impetus.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm doing what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it.
And we're gonna, when you get the foods ready, man, every time you got a new food, let's announce it and see if people can contact you and buy you out from your storage. That would be awesome.
I would love to sell out.
And you make wonderful stuff too. So let me just check in over at Rumble just to make sure we're getting comments in from everybody. Lots of really good stuff, and of course, Jonas, he's just full of interesting facts. He says there are 7 sovereign nations in the world with a total area of less than 100 square miles. I want to go to that Libertopia thing, Liberland or whatever it is. That's where I want to go. That'll be great. Alberta data center plan got turned down, says D2T. Well, very cool. Yeah, very cool. And let's see up here, a little final thing. 94 effing square miles, bro. That's 94, 60,000 acres. Yeah. And Birdhouse says, I remember Orrin Hatch was a longtime UT senator. He wouldn't have gone along with this crap. Birdhouse, I think he would have. I think he would have
too. He regulated.
He was a
he regulated
scumbag.
Precious metals.
What's that?
He passed. There's a thing called the Hatch Act where you have to show your ID if you're going to sell scrap metal.
Yeah. And remember how he had been one of the prime sponsors for Clarence Thomas? And they went through that whole thing with the Clarence Thomas hearings, and that woman clearly was lying about Clarence Thomas sexually going after her, because she then followed him at multiple jobs after that, right?
Wow.
And later on, Orrin Hatch actually didn't defend Clarence Thomas. He actually stabbed him in the back when it was very clear. And he did it I remember him doing it, and it was like a spot momentary thing. So he could be like comfortable among some people. You could just see him totally lose any spine that he had. And of course, Orrin Hatch was involved with a lot of the kiddie care nonsense that he and Ted Kennedy pushed back in the 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? The CHIPS program, that was Orrin Hatch.
Yes.
Children's health insurance.
Orrin Hatch and good old Ted.
Yeah, and Orrin Hatch was also involved with HIPAA. He also helped, some of his staff members helped write HIPAA, which, as you know, if you go in at page 75, gives the government the power to collect your medical data.
Right.
Sorry about that, Birdhouse, man. Yeah. Orrin Hatch. Is Orrin Hatch dead? Did he die?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Orrin Hatch. Sorry, I called you a scumbag, but yeah. He was. I mean, what can you do? He was a down and dirty, crude, and well, he wasn't crude. He was corrupt. He was corrupt while not swearing a lot. How about that? Right. I think he was a religious man, but I don't know what he was worshiping. Thanks, Furb. Thanks so much, man.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. And guys in the chat also, thank you so much. You guys are rocking. And Birdhouse says, what's the frequency, Kenneth? You're making me think of the noise that those things are making now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
all right,
rumble.
Dude. Yeah. Hey, I'll text you after the show, man. Thank you so much. As the prisoner says, be seeing you, brother.
Be seeing you.
All right, man. Thanks, Furb. Furb is great. Well, remember, we'll talk smooth foods very, very soon, everybody. And we'll have a good time. Maybe getting some items that maybe Furb can provide some, I'll buy some or something, then we can give them away if I can send them over to you with contests or something. Maybe that would work. A nice guest. Thanks, Yona. Yona says, nice guest. He's a great guy. He's such a good dude. Furb is just great. I remember I was at the World Horror Convention, the Bram Stoker Awards in Salt Lake City one time, and he was living just up in the mountains, had moved over from New Hampshire. He came down. We got together. We had a great time, and he is such a great cook. Wow, he's good. So thanks, everybody. We'll let you know what's going on with the data center issue right now. As of June, it has been pared down to half the size, but O'Leary is not going to give up, and I think it's going to go through. And of course, then the jobs, they'll all be hooked in, and that's exactly what Netanyahu wants. He wants the same sort of thing with Israeli-tied corporations that are involved with all that stuff. And I want to mention something else to you as well. I want to show you a little something from Doug McGregor. And this one, it's about Toka. Flock Camera Technologies lead investor also funds TOKA. Toka is the firm that is able to locate, hack, and alter both live and archived security camera footage without a detectable trace. And David was talking about this. They can manipulate the footage. And here is some of their stuff. Core capabilities and software. According to reports and investigative reviews by Haaretz and human rights organizations, Toka's proprietary technology is designed to infiltrate web-connected hardware. Its primary functions include 1. IoT and camera infiltration. The software targets Internet of Things systems to locate, access, and control webcams and security cameras within a targeted geographic perimeter. 2. Video feed manipulation. Unlike traditional spyware that only monitors data, Toka's tools allow operators to watch live feeds, alter live video streams, and edit or delete past recorded data. And again, kudos to David. Yesterday's program, just out of the park. Just so good. 10 to noon, Monday through Friday, David Knight Show. 0 digital footprint. The company's hacking tools are designed to operate without appearing on camera user lists or leaving a traceable digital footprint on infected target devices. And Current car intelligence. Toka has expanded its capabilities into vehicle surveillance platforms that can tap into a car's internet microphones and cameras while cross-referencing roadside feeds to track license plates. And the lead investor behind Flock Cameras Technologies has been caught. The lead investor is the guy behind this company. As Douglas McGregor writes, the lead investor behind Flock Camera Technologies caught funding a firm that is able to locate, hack, and alter both live and archived security camera footage without a detectable trace. Guess who he is also linked to? Police in Wisconsin used Flock Camera Tech to track a man across state lines to create a pretext to search his car for weed. Well, let me show you some other things, because if you wondered about this, I looked into it, and yes, the lead investor behind the Flock cameras, you might already know, is tied to Israel. Andreessen Horowitz led major funding rounds for Flock camera use, including a $275 million round valuing it at $7.5 billion for something called Flock Safety, the company, and also invested in Toka, which was co-founded by former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and retired IDF cyber chief. Toka. Toka markets its IoT infiltration and video manipulation capabilities, including vehicle tracking via cameras, exclusively to governments and law enforcement. Ehud Barak had multiple documented meetings, flights, and business interactions, and of course, that would be with Jeffrey Epstein, and sold his or bought his place from Epstein for basically $1, I think it was, right next to another place of Epstein's. So you've got Ehud Barak, an unnamed retired IDF cyber chief, and Andreessen Horowitz behind Flock Safety and Toka. Thank you, Douglas McGregor. Great stuff. That will round off our AI-connected mind meld. We'll take a break and come back with a little bit more, my friends, on the immigration front. And thanks to Furb. Big stuff.